2024 was another great year diving in North Carolina for Hollywood divers. We had 10 people with us this year. We stayed in a place in Beaufort, and right away we got to get out to the U-352, which was sunk during wartime, May 1942, and it was sunk in a battle with Coast Guard cutter Icarus. Icarus threw depth charges, set the U-352 on fire. It surfaced and then it sank. Was found later in the mid 70s. So luckily we get to dive that. Here we're looking at a school of jacks. There was a huge school of jacks. This was on the Carib Sea. The Carib Sea wreck was also a wartime wreck, 1942, and lately has been prolific with sharks everywhere on it. Also, the Atlas wreck was a tanker that was sunk by Germans right off North Carolina. A lot of people don't know North Carolina is uh, it's a war. A lot of it is wartime wreckage. Others are wrecks that the state of North Carolina has put down for a fishing reef, an artificial reef. But the bait and the amberjack and the other types of jacks like the big eye jacks, barracuda that hang around on the Carib Sea. Sometimes the bait can be disorienting. It's like a giant blob of fish always. And here we see one sand tiger. This one is showing behavior like it's being cleaned. Sometimes they'll stop what they're doing. So when they stop cold in their tracks there, they're being cleaned usually. And then deeper wrecks like the Atlas, where you say you have great numbers of sand tigers, lots of bait, just a little bit shorter bottom time. And the wreck there it's a 500-foot long tanker, so you got to give respect to people who have seen this whole wreck. You could do 5 or 6 dives on it and not see the whole thing. Luckily, we've been to North Carolina 15 times, and we've got to see the Atlas and the Carib Sea many, many times, and these are our favorite wrecks at the moment. You used to go to the Spar. The Spar was an artificial reef, and the sharks really loved it, but a hurricane moved that wreck. It hasn't moved anything else that I know of that we dive on. But here you see the Atlas looking up into the sun from about 80 feet, 85 feet deep, hanging over the edge of the shallow part of the wreck. And you can see how the bait can be disorienting to divers who dive it for the first time. And this visibility at the top on this particular day was pretty good. It had an odd glow to it, and as you went deeper, it just got darker, and it can be a little cold on the bottom on this wreck. So it starts out at about 80, 82 degrees on the surface, and then by the time you get down to about 75 feet, you're in the 70s. Sometimes you're as low as 70 degrees or 72 degrees on the bottom. So we recommend you wear a 3mm suit with a hood if possible. Most of your diving is going to be in some of the warmer areas, which are sort of south of Morehead City and Beaufort. Sand tiger sharks are not threatening sharks. They swim very slowly. The maximum size is, I would say, 8 to 9 feet. I don't think I've seen one bigger than that. They can lay on the bottom and they can contract their gills. Sometimes you hear them referred to as gray nurse sharks, and those would be, Australians might call them gray nurse sharks. South Africans might call them ragged tooth sharks. But here in North Carolina, we call them sand tigers. Occasionally in North Carolina, we will see a true tiger shark, but I have not seen a true tiger shark interacting with sand tigers. And you will know it when a real tiger shark swims through, because they're much bigger than the sand tigers. The cool thing about the sand tigers is you don't have to worry too much about getting close to them. They go to the surface and they gulp air. This is one of the only sharks that does this, and they swallow air so they can point themselves into the current and sort of hover. Otherwise, they would sink. And it's okay for them to sink because they can contract their gills. Not like some of the, like a larger shark, like a bull shark or a tiger shark, which has to keep swimming to breathe. So I highly recommend going out to North Carolina and checking out these wrecks. This particular wreck, you got to get there early, get up early in the morning, load your tanks onto the boat. You're gonna want nitrox on every dive because you want to maximize your bottom time when you're down there on a great dive like this. And most of the wrecks are deeper than 60 feet. So nitrox is really the only way to go. If you had a rebreather, that might also be beneficial, but you need to check ahead of time to see if the shops are going to have soda sorb. Since it's in North America, it's easy to ship. They'll accept your shipments of equipment, scooters, and pony bottles, and possibly scrubber. They have oxygen that they can provide. We dive with Discovery Diving out of Beaufort, and we have a good time with those guys every year. So go check out North Carolina, and thanks for watching with Hollywood Divers.